Welcome back to another episode of All the Mod 7. Last time we left off, I was working on setting all of this up and maybe making this place a little bit more radioactive than I would like it to. That's not my fault. I didn't mean it. We have it all set up now, and there's, there's a couple things I'm going to show you guys exactly what I did and everything, but we'll get to that in a little bit. First, I'd like to say we hit our 1,000 subs. Thanks to everybody. Thanks to all the support, and thank you guys so much for everything, for watching the channel, for hitting that sub button, for doing everything. We hit our 1,000, and we got invited to the partner program for YouTube, so I'm so excited! And for those who didn't see it, we did an All the Mod 7 star speed run, and it took us 135 hours. 135 hours to complete. We ended up getting it done just in time. I started it last Friday and I streamed all the way up until Thursday morning and we got it done. And I gotta be honest with you guys, I really liked doing the speed run. So I'm gonna do it again, but this time I'm gonna do it faster. I've been kind of making some notes on what I need to do to make it faster and everything. And it made me realize something too. I've been doing a lot of this stuff wrong. This playthrough is gonna be a lot more fun, now that I know what I'm doing. So without further ado, thank you guys so much for joining us. Thank you for joining me this past week on my All the Mod 7 stream, and let's get started. So, the way I have this set up is actually very simple. As you see, it's no longer radiated. Let me just go ahead and say, it takes forever to get this radiation to go away. Like, even if it's a small amount, which I actually learned that the polonium, so if I go and look, I think it's polonium is actually extremely radiative, like radioactivity, 50 millimolar per hour. So yeah, it takes literally so much time for us to get all of this stuff away. It took me forever. I had to literally just run my game for a while. I currently have the reactor shut off, and now that I'm a redstone expert, I'm actually going to show you guys some cool things. I learned a bunch while I was doing my All the Mod 7 star stream. Check this out. Let me show you how I have this set up, and I can actually set this up a little bit differently, but this is pretty cool. Just a rundown on everything. So basically, the reactor makes nuclear waste. It comes out here, goes along the pipes, and pipes into these 3 barrels right here. So these 3 barrels then output at the bottom and come over here into these isotopic centrifuges, and then they output here. I believe this is outputting polonium, I think. Plutonium. Okay, so we get plutonium from these, and then it goes over here into these 2 pressurized reaction chambers. Today, we actually need to get the HDPE sheets over here. Basically, we're gonna make our watermelon power farm in our base. But yeah, for right now, we have to get those set up because you need these solar neutron activators over here, and that's going to be kind of important. And we also need some over there because we need it for DT fuel for our fusion reactor later on down the road. But yeah, so it comes out in here. This is where it gets processed and turns into plutonium. And underneath there, you can't see it right now, there's some barrels for the nuclear waste, the spent nuclear waste that happens. So this is all set up, and the way this is set up right here is that on the exporters here, we have it exporting fluoride dust. It has a crafting upgrade and a regulator upgrade. And you also might notice on the left side, I also got item zoom, so that way you can see what item I'm looking at. It also helps if I scroll over an item and I want to look to see what it looks like. You see it over there on the left, how cool that looks. Anyway, ADHD at its finest. So regulator and crafting upgrade, so that way it says, hey, I want 64 fluoride dust as much as I can in here. And same thing for here. And these 2 are set up. I have these already set up, ready to go. We just need to be able to make this stuff. And I do believe actually we're going to need a little bit more space. And we might actually build something bigger. I also made this. Now, I didn't talk about this before when I made the reactor, but this is a basic, what's the word I'm looking for? I believe I call this, this is our basic oh shit button. Okay, so what happens is in here is that whenever the reactor is about to blow, this says, oh shit, and then throws out a signal and turns on this piston. The piston comes up right here, hits the observer. The observer says it's time and turns the reactor off. So that way I can run the reactor without having to worry about anything. It can stay running, and as long as it's going, it is fine. I would show y'all a trick that I learned about infinite water being pulled into the source, but I don't have the thing for it. So we'll have to do that another time. So today we're gonna get those HDPE sheets and pellets and all that good stuff because we need those solar neutron activators, and maybe we'll redo a couple of things. Let's get to it. Well, the first thing I'm gonna need to do is I need to make this a little bit bigger. I went ahead and made myself a couple of more recipes. So we have the andesite, all that good stuff. So that way I can replace the walls and stuff fairly easy. And I'm probably gonna need a couple more recipes, like specifically for these dynamic edges. I think those are actually, like these edge lights, I think those are actually really good to get the recipe. One of the things that I learned during my playthroughs, my speed run of the all the mods star, is that you need to basically, I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you, you need to just get as many recipes as possible and just constantly spam recipes. But just having as many recipes as possible is definitely worth it. So yeah. And now that the wall is cleared out, let's bust this sucker up. Oh, that's kind of cool, a little water patch. I kind of want to leave that just because it's like a little waterfall on the inside. Oh my God! What the hell was that? Damn, Minecraft out here being like a scary game ain't supposed to be a scary game. What am I supposed to? I don't even remember what I was looking for. Well, that scared me. I don't even remember what I was doing. Oh, yeah, I wanted to show a cool thing that I learned during my playthrough too. The Ferro Flare Light. This thing is actually really cool if you have the stuff for it. So I'm gonna grab a couple of these. This will, I think, as long as it's not super dangerous. But if you place these down, these things actually light up the area on their own. As you see, it's just lighting up the whole area by itself. I don't have to do a whole lot, which is pretty cool. And it just places lights everywhere in an area. I don't know how big the area is supposed to be, but I'm gonna leave that waterfall there because it's actually kind of cool looking, isn't it? All right, this whole ghost thing is not cool. I don't like how that lines up, but you know what? We can't play build a workshop down here. I can't do that, okay? It looks cool for right now, but we'll fix a little bit later. This is fine. We gotta focus up. So let's talk about all the things that we need for this. So we are going to be making a new way of storing, or getting power rather. And if we look over here, we have this set up right here for reactor power. And this is where our power will go into. We have 22.97 giga FE, so about 22 billion FE stored over here, which is pretty good. Just so you guys know, for the All the Mod 7 star, you need 4.3 trillion power, so trillion FE per antimatter pellet. And long story short, you need 11 of them, so you're going to need a ton of power. And what I did during my playthrough is the early game, I actually just made melon power, and I talked about this a little bit with the gas burning generator. So let's go ahead and head back up and grab some recipes. So we're gonna need a couple of things. We're gonna need a gas burning generator, just like we talked about a second ago. I'm gonna go ahead and grab the recipe, and I'm gonna shove this in here. I do believe I already have the other recipes. Can I just go ahead and craft this? Yep, so I have everything else for it. And I'm gonna go ahead and craft 10 of these while I'm, okay, it automatically craft all 10 of them, sweet. Basically, the goal is to produce ethylene. Ethylene is the in-game goal here. For ethylene, you're obviously gonna need these pressurized reaction chambers, and you're gonna need some biofuel. Biofuel is actually just from taking a crusher and breaking down some melon slices. Now you could break down melon or any kind of leaves or anything like that if you want to, but we're gonna aim for melon slices because it's actually the easiest thing to do here. And this will, then you take this, you put it into that pressurized reaction chamber, and it will turn it into ethylene. Well, if I was looking in the right one, it'll turn into ethylene if you give it some water and some hydrogen. So it'll also give it these substrate, or these little substrate pieces, and then you could take that and run some ethylene and some oxygen into some substrate into another pressurized reaction chamber, and it'll make you those sheets, which is pretty cool. So I've actually figured out the best way to make these things when I was doing my star run. Shout out to everybody who was in that stream. We're gonna need this functioning controller here, or it's not a functioning controller, it's a compacting drawer. So we are going to need some of those phytogenic insulators, right? We're gonna need a couple of these. Again, we're gonna need those cyclical processing unit. We're going to need about 5 of these, which is going to be important. We're going to need the resonant integral components. I'm going to need 5 to power those, so that should be good. And then we're also going to need us some flux linkage amperage, so we're going to need 10 of those because we're making 5 machines. And let's let all of that craft, and we'll get back at it when it's done. So one thing I did want to talk about really quickly while that's crafting, all of this over here is working, and then we have all of these phytogenic insulators, but I hate to break it to y'all, This is nothing. This would take forever for us to get the star. So we are going to, in a later episode, going to factorize this a little bit better and make this a little bit better. While this is definitely cool in the way I have it set up, I've actually, if you were a part of my playthrough this past week in the stream, we made about 200 to 300 of these in the first couple of days, so that way we can continue building. Same thing with our bees. While I have some of these bees on the outside here, I figured out a way to make it eternally daytime, and I forgot my magnet is on and I'm picking up all these eggs. But I figured all that stuff out, and we're going to have to redo all of these bees in the way that I have it set up, which I guess it's not too bad like this, because we can set it up like I have the uranium bees set up over here, which I'm not sure if I showed you guys that I did or not. But yeah, basically this is the way I have my uranium bees set up. That sounds disgusting. That sounds disgusting. Okay, whatever. It's disgusting. All right, so we basically have all the machines, and I still have a couple of things, little extra things actually crafting right now. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and set this stuff up. So I am going to do a very simple setup this time around. I'm going to do 5 of these phytogenic insulators across the back right here, and that will be powered with a sink in the back. I'm actually going to place the sink right here. And then we'll get some mechanical pipes and run them along the back. Actually, I'm not going to do that because it's actually better for us to use these universal pipes in the back, and I'll tell you why here in a second. So the universal pipes are actually very cool. Not only do they do water, but they do, oh God, come on. Not only do they do water, but they do pretty much or practically everything else on top of it. Now, the only caveat to this is that you actually need to, you can't run an in and an out right here. So while I could do all of the items that come out of here, I could pump them out the back. I would have to come over here and shift click this to make it an out. But when you shift click, let's say if I do that right here, this will no longer, if I don't rotate it, this will no longer get water and power anymore because this is now set to an out, even if you set the panel or whatever, and that's not good. So we're gonna go ahead and fix that back. So now we have the water pumped in here. Let's go ahead and get us some power with a point real quick. So the point can actually just go right here, and we can come over here and make sure it's set to like and sub for more. You know, that's totally what you should do. I'm going to hit shift click here and then throw in one of these pipe upgrades to get that power. So now all of these, whenever we set this up right, will get power and water out of the back, which is really good. So we're actually going to run item pipes along the top here because the item pipes are going to output into a compacting upgrade, which are the compacting drawer. But first, I'm going to show y'all guys what this red print thing is. I didn't know about this, but this is amazing. So let's go ahead and set up our configure our phytogenic insulators. But check this out. So in the back, we want this to be our input, right? So we want our water, it'll do our power and everything. And out of the top is where we're going to do our output for items and stuff. Now you can't change the front face. I wish you could, but the top side is what we're going to do for our items coming out. Now check this out. If I shift click or just click this rather, I can then right click the rest of these and it will automatically change all of the outputs and inputs and stuff like that for me. It'll do it automatically. And now all of these should have water and everything. This thing is an absolute lifesaver when you're doing like I'm doing and having an actual factory set up. So let's go ahead and get some of these melon seeds going. I'm just going to get a couple of them. We need the cyclical stuff to go in here before that goes crazy. Ah, it's still crafting those. Oof. And when this is done in 16 years, we'll get to it. These things are actually rather annoying because these will output the melons, like the solid melons, and we don't want just them to do solid melons. We actually want them to do more than solid melons. What I'm going to do is we're going to take an item pipe here and we're going to pipe up. I'm not going to do the output just yet so we can store some stuff. And then we're going to put this right here. So when this does eventually make a melon, we'll take and use it. And this is going to be our compacting drawer. What this does is we'll put a melon slice right there. And the melon slice will automatically configure this to have melon slices, blocks of melon, and stacked like compact melons at the top. And that's pretty cool and important to use too. Come on, you can do it. You ain't got no choice to do it now. There we go. Okay. So one important note here is if we do run these melons into the biofuel or into the crusher as it stands, it'll only make 5 biofuel. But I'm not going to use a precision sawmill for this. But if we do break these melons down into melon slices and then run it through the crusher, you're going to get 9 melon slices per melon. And each one of these give you 4 biofuel. So if we just ran 1 melon through, we would only get 5 biofuel. Instead, if we run the melon slices through, you're going to get a grand total of 36 rather than only getting 5. So that's important. So I do want to break this melon down into melon slices before we continue. Since I don't really care too much about this, I'm just going to throw one of these in here, let that output, and once we get our melon slices, we'll head back down. All right, with our melon slices in hand, we right click here, and now this is set up to break our melons down by itself. We will want to make sure that we lock this so that way it never, even if it pulls out everything, it will never empty this completely. So let's make sure we do that. Now that I finally crafted this stuff, let's go ahead and right click each of these to get that cyclical processing unit in there. So we could just go ahead and cycle this back and get all of these melon seeds continuously running. And now that that's in here, let's go ahead and install 2 of these flux linkage things to each one of them, and that should get this going. So now we should be good to go ahead and shift click this and then connect all the item pipes across the top, and then shift click each one of them. And now this is now set up. Now we have 178 melon slices. So before we go any further, let's go ahead and give this an upgrade or 2. So that way we can store a ton of melon slices. We can look in the top here and see that it can store 1.4 billion now. Usually I would do something like a void upgrade on these, but I'm not going to do that for this. We want to output this. So I'm going to do this like this, and we're going to output these to 3 different crushers here. So I'm going to drag one over so it's in front of it, just like this. Then we're going to place here, pull here, and we want to make sure that this is set to melon slices. So let's go ahead and put this in here and make sure it's set to melon slices. So only melon slices pump into here. That's important. You don't want to pull this out without melon slices being selected, because otherwise it will pull whatever's in there, or try to at least, and we don't want that. Now these don't have any power yet, but we're going to do something a little bit different beforehand. We're going to grab each one of these tier installers so that way we can upgrade this to the max tier of each of these. So we have 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, and 4. So now these are all upgraded to the max amount. All we need now is the normal upgrades. And you could do the same thing and shift click on each of these to upgrade them, so that way you don't have to open up the inventory or whatever to do that. So these are all max upgraded crushers. I don't think we needed 3, but we have 3 now, so that works. And now we want to run some power off of these. So I'm going to go ahead and throw an ultimate universal cable over the top. And now we have some power pulling through here. This will fill all of these up and we're good to go. So now we need to output these into our pressurized reaction chambers, because this will then, if we go over here and make sure that it pulls. Oh yeah, we have to set the item input off the back. Let's do that real quick. So item config, we want to make sure the back is set to input here, and we want to do this for each of them. And then we also want to make sure that we have auto sort turned on, that we keep it on and it breaks all these things down. And now we have more biofuel than we know what to do with. So let's set these pressurized reaction chambers up. This is what's going to make us our ethylene. All right, so let's think about this. Each one of these, if we want to make ethylene, let's go over here and take a look at it. We want to think about how many faces we need to use this with, right? So if we come over here, click here, and we look at this, ethylene is made with hydrogen, water. So we need 1 for water, 1 for hydrogen. Then we need an item input, we need an item output, and then we need an ethylene out. So those are all the different things that we need. So we're going to have 2 outs, right? We have a gas out and we have a substrate out, which we could use 1 universal pipe for in the back. Then we're going to have 2 different things here. We're going to have a gas and a water and an item input. So this ghost needs to mind its business. Get out my house. So theoretically speaking here, we could just have 1 thing for water, 1 thing for hydrogen. We also going to need an input for power too. So we could actually do all 3 of those and power all in 1. And then we really only need 1 output, so that way we can output the different things. So with that being said, we need 2 faces, 1 in the back, 1 in the front. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just stack these suckers up like this, all up top. Okay, and then this will be all of our output, input, all that good stuff. So let's get those set up. So universal pipes in the back go straight across here. And then we got to think about what we want to, this is going to be our inputs, right? So input, we need power, which that's right there. That's good that I put that right there. Okay, go ahead and upgrade that, and that'll give every one of these power. So we need, what? So not only do we need that, we need water, which there's a sink in the back. Do the same thing, shift click here, make sure this is set to item pipe upgrade. And now all we need is hydrogen. So let's go ahead and grab another entangle-porter here. And we can put this up top here, just like this. And let's set this to our hydrogen, which is actually spelled right in this one. And then we want to set the gases to output on the bottom. We're going to clear all of the rest of these because we don't want anything going in or out. So no water, no nothing like that. And then you could shift click and you see that we actually have some stuff in there. There's some water being stored in here and I don't want that. We also have power in there, so I guess that's not the worst thing. And then now we can come down here and shift click this, stick in our ultimate pipe upgrade, and we could just go ahead and get rid of that water from the inside by doing an output right here. And then that'll push the water out once it eventually gets there. So now we have all of our item inputs here minus this right here, these guys. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to make sure that this has all of this set up properly. So we want to make sure we input from the back, which we should be getting some gas here. Let's shift click these to go ahead and get these to pull the everything from this. We can go ahead and upgrade them as well. So that way nothing is trying to push in those. Weirdly enough, the input is actually not right here on the gases, which is kind of weird. This isn't getting any hydrogen, which is really weird. I'm just going to go ahead and configure all of these to be the same thing here on gases. All right, whatever. That was weird. I had to add an extra pipe there for it to output the hydrogen. What? It's still not getting hydrogen to the bottom of that. That's so weird. That's just not getting it. I guess it's because there's not enough room in these pipes, maybe? Wonder if we got to do another one here. Oh, that's why, because there's fluorite dust in these. Why is there fluorite dust in these? Why did it take me so long to realize those? What? And now we got to set these over here to output these in the front. So, and then over here, we want to do the same thing where we do item config and we want to make sure we input from the back and we can output from the front. And this should get these going. All right. All 9 of these suckers are now making us those substrates that we need. Sweet. So we're going to need to output these two separately into 2 different things here. 1, we're going to need something for substrates, and 2, we're going to need something for ethylene. We're also going to need to upgrade these, which actually should be relatively simple. All right, now all of these should be a whole lot faster. And we want to output one thing into an oak drawer here. So we're going to do it just like this. We want one of these to be the entangler here. We want to set this to ethy just for ethylene. I'm not going to type the rest of that because I'm lazy. We're going to go to gases. Let's make sure we turn off everything else because I don't want anything else coming in here. But for gases, we want to make sure we input in the back here. So that way we can pull all these in and this will all output everything into here once we get these shift clicked. And then we're going to need a drawer. So let's go ahead and place the drawer down right here. And then let's grab one of those substrates out of here and shove it in here. And this way we can upgrade this. I will say, y'all, this is important. Make sure you make use some void upgrades. It is extremely important that you do this. Mainly because sometimes these things back up, and when they back up, it won't continue this search, or it won't continue using these things. So make sure you put a void upgrade in here. Even though it says I have 2.1 million in there, just make sure you put something in there so that way it doesn't overfill and stop your whole system. And now we want to pull all of these from the front. There we have it. These should be adding up. We'll have to set the gases on the front, but let's go ahead and take these ultimate pipe upgrades and hit each one of these so that way it's fast and it pulls them all out as soon as you can. And then we're going to need to make sure we set this to push the gas out of the front. You also need to make sure we're ejecting these things out of the front. That would probably be smart too. All right, now that none of these are backing up, it looks like we're good to go. We have 1.5K substrates already, and we have a gas, or we have 164,000 millibuckets. It looks like 169 buckets full of ethylene already producing. So let's hop over here and let's go ahead and get this set up for the gas burning generators. We're going to need another entangler here so we can tap into that ethylene, and let's put this back here. So gas burning generators, we're going to go 5 across here. Let's scoot over from here and about 3, and then go 1, and let's stick these back on top as well. And then in the back side here, I'm going to put that entangler. We're going to make sure to set this to ethylene here. We're going to clear all of our sides just in case things are flowing through here. And then we're going to make sure we output on the bottom and in the front and on these sides. And then from here, we're going to just connect them with our pressurized tubes. And we're going to make sure this is set to auto eject. So now each one of these should be filled to the brim with ethylene. Well, some of them should be filled to the brim because I missed one of them. Now, the cool thing about this is that these suckers will produce about 72,000 Fe per tick. Each one of these produces half as much as that massive reactor we built over there. And because we have an entangler over here, we're going to go ahead and run some universal cables out of the front because it's the only place that the power outputs. And we're going to grab one more entangloporter and stick it in the front. So let's go to reactor power here and set that. And then it should automatically input the energy from these things. And each one of these should now be producing 72.19 thousand FE per tick. And if we come over here and look, this should now be getting a ton of power because this is where we're outputting and inputting and all that good stuff, which is great. We will have to upgrade these eventually because this little power bank we got here isn't going to work. But now we have a way to produce substrate and we have a way to produce a bunch of power. So we are going to have to take those substrates right here and we are going to have to run them back through with some ethylene into a pressurized reaction chamber to be able to create those HDPE pellets, the HDPE pellets. That's totally what I meant to say. So let's set that up. That's actually relatively quick and easy to do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place this here. So let's look and see exactly how many things we need again. So we need one input for ethylene, one input for oxygen. We're going to need an input for substrates and we're going to need an two outputs because this does produce actually, no, this doesn't produce anything on the side. So we're just going to need one output and that's the pellets. So again, the handy dandy universal pipes, these are absolutely amazing. We're going to grab another entangloporter for our oxygen here. And I do want to go ahead. Well, ethylene is kind of important to be careful with how you input and output these gases because it could be dangerous. So I'm going to clear this off real quick and then we're going to grab another universal cable. I guess we don't even need this one, but that's fine. Just to make sure that it is oxygen that we need, we're going to make sure we set this to oxygen set and then we're going to gases output on the side and click auto eject. And then we're going to get this set up. So ethylene is input 1 here. So input 1, and then we want to input on the side as well. And this should pump in ethylene. Problem is if you're not careful with this and you don't pump it in properly, what'll end up happening is it'll think that you're trying to make some more substrates like this and it won't allow you to pump in that ethylene into input 1. So that's important to note too. So what you can do to get stuff out of it if you mess up like that, like I did, make yourself one of these gauge droppers. So what we're going to do is we're going to come over here and we're going to make sure that we turn that input off on the gases right here. So we're going to change that back off. And then we're going to take our gauge dropper and shift click on the inside. And now it should be set to oxygen. Now this does actually get rid of your ethylene. So keep that in mind. And then now we should be able to come over here back to our gases and input again. Keep in mind, the reason why this isn't working is because this needs to be liquid ethylene. That's what I messed up on. So we're going to need to make us one of those rotary condensators here. Just one of them should be fine enough and let that craft. And we're going to change this to liquid ethylene here. And we should be able to just stick this right here. This should be outputting on the top. There's our ethylene right there and run a universal pipe from here up to here, and that should power this. And now we set this up. We want to make sure we output our gases at the top. Well, actually, this is going to be a fluid, right? So we're going to output the fluid to the top, and then we want to come up here and do fluids and input from the bottom. Click this back. This should turn it into liquid ethylene, which should be pumping into here. And then we've got to find a way to pump this substrate right here into there. So what we could do is we could do go home, you're drunk. So what we could do is make a modular router. I don't even know if I still have any. We do. Okay, sweet. I'm going to show you guys how we can do this and how cool this is. First, I'm going to grab some recipes for modular router before we do that. So we're going to grab a couple of things. We're going to grab the distributor module recipe here. I don't know if I have all the other modules in here, but we're going to grab all of the recipes. I don't have to click and make each one of them. This ghost really needs to mind their business. And then we're going to need a puller module, which is pretty cool too. And what I'm going to grab is I'm going to grab one of these item stack augments here. And we're going to grab one of these speed upgrades right here. The speed augments, or upgrades rather. And now I'm just going to make that. Heading back over here. Here's what we could do. So we want to pump those into there, which is pretty cool. So we could do a modular router. Let's say we do the modular router right here in the middle just to make it look cool. And what we're going to do is we're going to just go ahead and stick these stack upgrades in here. And we're going to take the speed upgrades and stick them in there as well. So that way it automatically starts working. So we're going to need a puller module. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull from here, shift click here, and this will pull some stuff in here. So now we see that automatically yoinked it out of there. And then I'm going to take a distributor module and I'm going to stick it in here. And if I get close enough to click it, put this back in here, what's going to happen is this is going to shoot a stack in at a time into here anytime that I need it. This does also need power. And now we're producing our HDPE pellets, which is dope. So I don't believe we need any of these substrates for anything else other than making the sheets. That's all that they're good for. So this is perfectly fine. And then now we can actually pump these into our system. Grab a stack upgrade in here and hit it with our network card. Head home, continue our wall of transmitters here, and bam. So now we should be getting our pellets here. We got to turn these into sheets too. Keep that in mind. That's just ran through an enrichment chamber, which we have one already set up. So let me grab this recipe. Should be easy enough if I hit this button right here. You can also just take and craft them like that, but I'm not gonna do that because it saves some power here. I didn't put the patterns back in there, sweet. So let's head to our factory over here, find our enrichment one, which is right here, and throw this sucker in here. And now I should be able to make these HDPE sheets. There we go. We got it. That's all we needed it for. And we did it. We got it all together. We got everything set up. We got our little modular router stuff, and we have a bunch of extra power on top of it with all of these gas burning generators. So we have all of our HDPE sheets that will make our solar neutron reactivators, which will then in turn give us all of the things that we need for our fusion reactor and our SBS casings to start making those antimatter pellets that we need. We need 11 of them, so it's going to take a while. But it's good that we got this all set up. Guys, thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Every time you guys jump in here and watch these videos, make sure to like, subscribe if you like these things, if they help you out. One of the biggest things that I get all the time is people say, hey Alfred, I really love your videos. They really help me learn the mods. If I can help you guys at all, please let me know. If there's anything that you're looking for to learn, any mods or anything like that, just let me know, and I'll cover it in one of my videos during my playthrough. I learned a bunch of tips and tricks doing that speed run of the star, so hopefully these tips and tricks will help you along your way. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and bye-bye!